Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Make sure you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So last night Joe Biden gave his first joint address to Congress. It was kind of like a State of the Union speech, even though it technically wasn't a State of the Union because State of the Union addresses are typically given at least 1 year after the president has already taken office. So it wasn't really a State of the Union, but it basically was the State of the Union style setup where a president stands in front of both sessions of Congress and gives a relatively unifying speech talking about the direction of the country, talking about the accomplishments of an administration, also talking about what the administration is going to do within the next coming year or so. So Joe Biden did that yesterday, even though a lot of people didn't show up, even though they will necessarily say that it's because of COVID, the optics of it, not exactly the best for Joe Biden. A lot of conservatives on Twitter were dunking on him because of it. And I just have to admit, overall, watching the speech, it's boring. Now, I give him a lot of credit because seeing Joe Biden stand up there for an hour and 5 minutes and giving a speech, obviously it was less than President Trump's speech back in 2017 or any of his State of the Unions. Those typically went on for an hour and a half to even, 2 hours in some instances. But what we saw from Joe Biden was just a very slow speech that he gave for about an hour and 5 minutes. Credit to Joe Biden, he didn't really slip up. He didn't really have any gaffes that he typically has. Obviously, we know he likely didn't write his speech to begin with, but just seeing that happen, that's credit where it's due. But I will say this, it was extremely boring. It was extremely boring, and nobody watched it. And you could look at the viewership. His viewership right now, if you look at the viewership, it was just 1/4 of what Donald Trump's was in 2017. But keep in mind that is a misleading statistic because it really only factors in the early viewers. When the later viewers are factored in, it's probably going to jump up from 11 million to around 22 million. But still, his 11 million early total is half of what Trump's was in 2017. So it's not a good look. It probably had around half the same viewership that Donald Trump's speech in 2017 had. So a big L that Joe Biden took. Another L that Joe Biden took was the fact that even on like the CNN streams, all these other streams for it on YouTube, because people are just going to say, oh, his fans were watching it on the internet. Well, not entirely true. You saw massive dislike to like ratios on pretty much all the streams, even the streams on the left-wing channels. And that's because nobody really likes this guy. Nobody does. Oh, but he got a lot of votes. Okay, and? Because people don't like Trump, they vote against Donald Trump. That is why Biden was able to get a single vote in the first place in this country, was because some people viewed him as a palatable alternative to Donald Trump. It wasn't just because Joe Biden is great, Joe Biden is so inspirational, Joe Biden is going out there and he's changing hearts and minds. No, it has absolutely nothing to do with that. So that is really the state of our union. The state of our union is a union that is manufactured by outrage culture, and the outrage culture at Donald Trump back in the 2020 election is really what gave way for Joe Biden to become president in the first place. So if anything, Joe Biden should be thinking that. He shouldn't be thinking any of his policy proposals that he puts forward because, frankly, nobody really knows what those are. And Biden talked about them during the speech. He talked about the child tax credit. He talked about universal pre-K and free community college, which universal pre-K should really be a state issue. It shouldn't really be the federal government deciding the educational system. In terms of free community college is usually free anyways for people who really can't afford it. I feel like putting the price and wage controls on community college could affect its universality in the long run. Also, in terms of the child tax credit, I don't disagree with him there. But there were several false or misleading statements that Biden made throughout the whole speech. Now, in terms of taxes, Biden said that he is going to raise taxes on corporations and he's going to raise taxes on the top 1%. The problem is he is bringing back, I believe, the SALT deductions that Donald Trump got rid of that actually increased the taxes in a lot of these blue states for millionaires and billionaires. And a lot of these people are Biden's biggest donors. and they're going to be able to get off scot-free. And in terms of the corporation tax rate increasing, that increases for all corporations. That's going to affect small businesses the most. That's going to affect mid-sized corporations the most. The mega corporations that donate large sums of money to Joe Biden understand the tax code so well and engage in enough offshore banking to the point where it doesn't exactly matter if the tax rate is 90%. They're not exactly going to be paying really any more taxes than they're already paying now. So that was that part of the speech. When it came down to immigration, Biden talked about foreign aid to other countries. Yeah, like that's going to do anything, right? Pour hundreds of billions of dollars down the drain into these corrupt governments in Central America. It's not even going to be enough to solve all of their problems, and that's American taxpayer dollars going to a lot of these corrupt countries. Do you think that money is going to be well spent? I don't think so. In terms of Biden talking about guns, he talked about guns a lot. He said he wants to outlaw guns that have 100 rounds because he said that gun owners believe that it should be outlawed, which, again, I don't believe Biden speaks to a whole lot of gun owners, personally speaking. He actually got accosted by one who was a union worker and a former Democrat, I believe, back in early 2020. In a rally that he held in Macomb County, Michigan. So apparently he's not listening to the gun owners. But if he did, he would understand the fact that a lot of gun murders are not committed by rifles or AR-15s. In fact, there's more murders that are committed by hammers and blunt objects than there are by the so-called high-capacity semi-auto assault rifles, which, by the way, an AR-15 is not an assault rifle. It's an Armalite rifle. That's what the AR stands for. Also, he talked about ghost guns, which has basically become a meme at this point. Ghost guns. He talked about ghost guns. There's this idea that there's all of these mass shootings that are committed by people who put their own guns together because they get kits and it's untraceable. Except, do you think really banning that is going to stop the ghost guns, the very few shootings that occur with ghost guns? I really don't think so. But that, again, that's beside the point. He went on and on. He talked about the vaccine rollout. He was taking credit for that. And the massive increase in vaccines, except he kind of just came into the White House at the right time to oversee the rollout. A lot of that was pre-planned before Biden even took office. Again, back a year ago, they said they wouldn't even get a vaccine until 2032. And now, apparently, Donald Trump got it done within a year. So whether you're skeptical of it or not, that is an accomplishment of some sort that Biden is trying to take credit for, ironically enough. But also he made some other false statements during his State of the Union that I did want to address. He said that the vast majority of, he said, undocumented folks that are here are overstaying their visas. That's not true. It's not even a majority. It's 46%. And he said that there's 11 million undocumented immigrants. We don't know how many there are. Again, that could be nitpicking, but there have been studies that have shown it's up to 15. I think there was a study out of Yale that said it was 22 million. But that's really beside the point. Biden also said that there's a broad consensus on economists agreeing what he's proposing will help create millions of jobs and generate historic economic growth. The problem with that is that there are people who disagree. In fact, some of Barack Obama's top economists actually say that Biden's relief packages may risk rates of inflation that we haven't seen in many, many years. So that's not entirely true. Also, Biden taking credit for the $1,400 checks, which took long enough. He finally did get them out. The problem that I have with that is that it was very misleading advertising. A lot of people said there would be $2,000 checks. Ossoff and Warnock in Georgia, when they were campaigning, said that there would be $2,000 checks. Obviously, what we did see was the fact that they passed a $600 check before Biden took office. Biden passed $1,400. $1,400 plus $600 does equal $2,000, but it is a little bit misleading in my opinion. So now we get to the rebuttal. We get Tim Scott, who he made a couple of good points. He attacked woke capitalism. He obviously attacked a lot of the pork that was found in a lot of these bills that the Biden administration is pushing. But then again, he still made these references. There's this big government, this boogeyman of socialism talking point constantly throughout his speech. And the virtue signaling to BLM doesn't exactly sit well. And conservatives have two main concerns with Biden's administration. Two problems, two scandals, you could say. Well, not maybe a scandal in terms of the second one, but the two main problems conservatives have are immigration with the border crisis and gun control. Now, the problem is that in terms of immigration, there was one reference in Tim Scott's whole rebuttal to the border crisis, and it was very, very brief. In terms of gun control, there was absolutely nothing to be found, despite the fact that it was a key point in Joe Biden's speech. So the GOP messaging is still awful. Tim Scott is an establishment Republican. I say it. I get attacked for it. The so-called conservative party is out there calling people that attack Tim Scott as insufficiently conservative as a racist, because they are no different than the establishment left. That is exactly what the left used to do when anybody used to attack Obama, because they don't want to argue on the merits, because they know that we're right, and they want to try and silence any dissent of the establishment by labeling that dissent as racist. So it's really no surprise there. But the bottom line is that the Republican Party really needs to get its messaging together. The establishment is so out of touch with the base, and it's not even funny at this point because it's so obvious, and it just needs to stop and it needs to end. And Biden is actually co-opting some of Trump's messaging, and that's a good thing that Trump has shifted the Overton window in the direction when it comes to things like products made in America, when it comes to things like getting out of foreign wars. Do I expect Biden to do anything about it? No, and obviously it's going to be ammunition to attack him on, saying, look, you promised to get us out of Afghanistan. If Biden doesn't get us out of Afghanistan, if Biden doesn't bring a sufficient amount of jobs back, Republicans are going to have a heyday with him in 2024, and Trump's base is going to be even more energized than ever. And that is exactly what they need to be exploiting. The GOP needs to be exploiting the issues that Trump brought to the forefront. They don't need to sit there and pander to South Florida about the boogeyman of socialism, because nobody outside of South Florida really is going to sit there and care about that, because why? Government spending went up by 0.1%. Biden's not a socialist. He's a neoliberal Democrat. And in many ways, he's arguably a corporatist. He's arguably just as bad as somebody who would have socialist economics. And that needs to be the message. So Tim Scott touched a little bit on the mega corporations thing, but I think that all in all, the Republican Party has a lot of work to do in terms of its messaging to effectively counter the left. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. Links in description below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.